Hey everybody, I am here today and I'm so excited to have a very special guest and a longtime client and friend. I mean, Jeff, how long have we known each other?
God, it's been so long, Kelly. I was thinking about that this morning. First, I started thinking about Lisa and I will be married 38 years in July.
Uh-huh.
Okay, we've owned 16 homes throughout our marriage.
Oh my gosh.
Now, you weren't there at the very beginning.
Yes.
But I think you've probably done about 12 of them.
I remember when your youngest son, Danny, was born. So I
Yes.
think that was like the first time we
Yep,
worked together,
yep.
early 2000s.
And he's 21.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, Jeff King, not only just a longtime client, but there's some unique things about Jeff, and he agreed to come by today and really just kind of dive into his story because his story is so similar to so many entrepreneur stories out there when it goes to the home loan process. And so just to give you a little context, Jeff is the president of the Barn Door Store here in, is it Scottsdale?
Scottsdale, yeah.
And a really cool showroom, really cool store, and really cool business. How long has it been around now?
So this is our 13th year.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We manufacture the doors right here in Scottsdale and
Okay.
then have a beautiful showroom there as well.
Yeah, I love what you're doing. So, Jeff, do you want to just kind of start with a little bit of, you know?
I do. We just completed another purchase, another mortgage with you for a second home that we bought up in northern Arizona.
Yeah.
And I was reflecting on that whole transaction. And I said to myself, I could send Kelly an email and tell her about how happy that I've always been with, working with you and Cornerstone and your team. Or I could just come in and we could get on camera and we could talk about it.
Yeah.
And I think talking about it may benefit other entrepreneurs like myself.
Yeah, I agree.
Because we always feel like as entrepreneurs, there's always that question mark in our mind. We found a home we want to possibly purchase. Am I going to be able to do it? What's it going to look like? How hard is the transaction going to be? And, being a diehard entrepreneur, self-employed my whole life, you've always made it so easy. And,
well, that is good.
Yeah, I mean, there's, obviously I've got to come to the table with the right paperwork.
Yes.
But the coaching, the communication, everything is just really falling into place.
Yeah.
And especially this last one. I mean, you've got a gal in your office who you put on my case that is just phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say that. And let's
Yeah.
talk about it. And, what do you do to make it so seamless or the best experience possible for the self-employed?
Yeah. I think there's so many ways to kind of chunk this down. First and foremost, I do recall we worked together soon after you had started your business.
Mm-hmm.
And I think for entrepreneurs or self-employed people, that's probably where the most angst comes because maybe you had a W-2 job, you worked for, a company, or you had a spouse that had a W-2 job. You were in kind of a different place, and then you go self-employed. And it's true, from a lending standpoint, everything changes. And
Right.
it's not because of the lender, it's because of the lending guidelines. But really, if you think about it, lending is a risk-based business.
Mm-hmm.
And so the lending rules for mainstream financing, they're going to dig into the tax returns when you're self-employed.
That's right.
And they want you to be self-employed for, at minimum, 1 full 12 months of tax returns,
Yep.
but most guidelines are 2. And can we just be really honest and transparent?
Totally.
A lot of self-employed people write off a lot of things.
Right.
So
right.
their bottom line number doesn't truly represent
Right.
what their income is.
And that's the thing, when you're leveraging those write-offs,
Right.
okay, to reduce your tax debt,
Yeah.
then it makes your income just look like junk.
Right.
Right?
Yeah.
I hardly earn anything now in the eyes of the underwriter.
Right.
So it's like a catch-22.
Yeah.
There's got to be a real fine balance.
Yeah.
And, I wanted to touch on that point as well. I feel like, having a great representative taking you through the underwriting process that understands, the self-employed.
Yeah.
And, you guys certainly did. I kind of feel like you can explain things to that underwriter that maybe they're used to dealing with a W-2 transaction, and maybe this particular underwriter hasn't done a lot of self-employed. And you could say, hey, wait a second, let's look at it this way or look at it that way. And, just different ways of looking at things
Yeah.
get us to the end result.
Yeah. I think that, logic in mortgage lending went away a long time ago.
Mm-hmm.
And, but there are still scenarios where being able to have that conversation, present the case, and build out the logic, as long as it meets in the lending guidelines, then that is really a big part. And the person that he's talking about is Karen on my team. I mean, she is
I didn't
so
I didn't know if you wanted to expose her, but I mean, Karen is a rock star. So.
No, she really is. And the great thing about Karen is she knows self-employed.
Yeah,
Borrowers
she knows her stuff.
And home lending and this and that. And really, it's not just about the income. And so I do want to say that if you are in that situation where you're, have a lot of deductions, awesome. Means you're paying less taxes, but then maybe it could be challenging. There are other home loan programs out there for self-employed people that are reduced income documentation. Maybe that's bank statements, and there's different strategies out there.
Right.
Not that was the strategy with you, but it's important, I think, for self-employed people to know. The other big thing with self-employed people to keep in mind, and I know you probably went through this, and Karen probably lovingly, coached you through it, but it's assets.
That's right.
Because y'all got money coming, all kinds of
Yeah, we all got money coming in. We got stuff. Karen thinks I own too many cars, but I said, Karen, that's my thing, right? I'm not a big golfer. I love cars.
Yeah.
So she even asked me, she goes, how many cars do you have? So.
And you're like, it's none of your business, Karen.
Yeah, just get my loan done. So, yeah.
So, well, talk us through, as you go through the process, and just, really you, in your business, you're working with so many people that are either remodeling or, purchasing homes or maybe building homes.
Yeah.
Kind of walk me through the sense of emotion or stress or excitement and, the things that go on, because I have a feeling our businesses are very similar in that regard. This is an emotional process. When you're building a house and we're picking out doors, through the barn door store, it's an emotional, exciting, scary process. What if I pick the wrong one?
Yeah.
Or what if they're not ready? So kind of like, I think the similarity between the two experiences could be cool.
So I mean, personally for Lisa and I, we've always looked at home ownership as almost like a hobby. Okay? Obviously it provides a place to live and raise your children and whatnot. But it's always been a hobby of ours because we love to fix up homes. She loves to decorate. Yeah. So about every couple years, we've always looked for that new, project. Yeah. And typically the way it rolls out is we'll be driving around on a Sunday after kind of cruising through Zillow and getting our arms around some properties we like, and we'll see something, we'll go, my God, this house is it. And then we look at each other and we're like, call Kelly, right? And then I see her get excited. And I see her vision start to roll. Yeah. And then I'm thinking in the back of my mind, okay, I got to pull this off. Yeah. Right? And I'm not that W-2 guy that, has that track record of 25 years of making X. Right. So we need to dig in. Yeah. But that's where you guys come in and you just help me pull it all together and kind of get it done. Now, going through the process, let's get into that a little bit. The emotions run high. Yeah. Because now you've fallen in love with the property. Right. Your wife or you or whomever is starting to pick out furniture and saying, wouldn't it be so cool if we put this type of backsplash in the kitchen? And you're thinking, all right, this really needs to happen, right? So, that's probably about the time you give Karen a call for a little check-in and say, are we still rolling? Are we good? Yeah. And, that's about a 2-week period, I think, maybe 3-week period. Yeah. When you get that call, and I'll never forget when these calls come in, I was driving home from work on this one, just crossing over the 101 in Raintree, heading back to DC Ranch, and Karen called and she goes, yeah, everything's done, you guys are good. It's a huge sigh of relief. Yeah,
I know.
So,
I know.
Yeah.
I always tell people it's emotional, it is exciting, it is scary. It's like every emotion you're going through the process when you're purchasing a home. Right. And then to attach to that the home loan process, because it's a process, let's just be clear. It's not just like, push a button and get a loan. I don't know who created that commercial, but really it's brilliant. Right. But that's not really the way it works.
That's right. Yeah. I think the biggest thing is just the consistent communication, from you guys. Because if you're engaged in that process and it goes silent for like 5 days, you're thinking, oh, something must have happened, right? Yeah. But getting those email updates or an occasional phone call, hey, we're moving right along, we just need to do this or that, or, you know, we're good. It just helps tremendously.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
and like I mentioned to you earlier when we were just chit-chatting, I think, you know, if you went with a standard mortgage lending institution, you know,
Yeah.
you're not going to get that personal service.
Yeah.
And I think a self-employed entrepreneur needs that personal service.
Mm-hmm. Well, I think it's similar in your business, though. You know, let's say you're building a house, you're remodeling, and I know you and your family well enough to know the personalization that you're providing your clients is different than maybe a big box store.
Right.
You know, it just is a different experience, and
Right,
so
right.
Maybe that's why we connect and have connected over the years. It just
And, you know,
it
that's-
matters, you know.
Exactly, and that's our mission within our company too, is to
Yeah.
over communicate. I mean, I tell all of our people, communicate so much that the people get sick and tired of hearing from you, right?
Go away.
Yeah, everything we do is custom. They picked out the door style and the finish and the ceiling beam that they want in their living room. And they want to know, how's it coming?
Yeah.
You know,
Excitement.
Are you going to hit the install date? Because
Yeah.
we're closing on X date. You guys need to be right behind.
Yeah.
You know, communication is key.
Yeah, it
So,
absolutely is. At
yeah.
the end of the day, I think if it doesn't matter the business either.
Right,
You know,
right.
communication is key, and proactive communication is even better.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Yeah.
Well, Jeff, I know you have a business to run. Thank you so much for dropping by today.
My pleasure.
If
My
you-
absolute pleasure. I'm honored to be with you today.
I appreciate that. Please tell Lisa and the boys I said hi.
I will.
And if you're self-employed, if you're entrepreneurial, if you're going through the home buying process, refinancing process, and you're just like, just give us a call, 480-725-0150, and you're going to find that our approach really is this. We're just going to have a chat. We're going to kind of dive into your particular scenario, and it is important to know that everybody has their own footprint.
That's right.
They really do. So your scenario is different than Jeff's, it's different than Sally's, it's just the way it is. So having that lens from an experienced lender that understands self-employed borrowers is really critical to your success. Thanks so much, guys.